Boker Tov, good morning. Today is Friday, December 18th, Erev Shabbat, Parshat Miketz. And I want to share with you a message of disaster and hope. Disaster and hope. You'll see where I go with this in the next few minutes. Here's what I want to start us off with. In understanding the way in which a midrash develops. A midrashic read of a text understands and comprehends that the Torah wants them and wants you, the reader, to view the text in multiple ways. Generally, that happens when an unusual word is chosen when a normal word could have been used. And that is most certainly the case as we begin chapter 42 of our parashah. This is what we find. Vayar Yaakov ki yeshever b'Mitzrayim, and Yaakov saw that there were provisions in Egypt. He told his children to head down there. Lama titrao, why are you waiting around here to be seen here? Get moving. Hine shamati, he says in the next verse, ki yeshever b'Mitzrayim. I've heard that there are provisions in Egypt. V'du shama v'shivu lanu misham. Go down there and collect up these provisions for us. Next verse. The children and the brothers of Yosef go down Lishbor bar Mitzrayim to go take provisions of grain from Egypt. A few verses later, Vayavo b'nei Yisrael Lishbor b'toch habaim, and then finally Yosef hu hashalit al haaretz. Yosef was the sovereign over the land. Hu hamashbir lochol am haaretz. He was the one who provided provisions to the whole to all the peoples of the land. That choice of words, shever, lishbor, mashbir, is not an accident. And the repetition again and again is meant to capture our attention. Torah could have used, as the Midrash says, that they went down to get ochel, to get bar is used once, but to get food and grain. That would be the usual word we expect to find. Liknot ochel, to buy food. But this word shever is unusual, and it's only used around this story. So what are we to make of that? Is it more than just provisions of food that we're supposed to be reading into this text? And Yaakov seeing shever might not just be about Yaakov seeing provisions, but something more. And here, I take you to the other uses of this word. Shin Beit Reish appears earlier in Bereshit once in describing the events as the angels have been taken in by Lot into his home in Sodom, and the people of the town come pressing against them, and they come close lishbor tadelet. They come close to break apart the door. Lishbor means to break. It means for something to be taken apart. To be broken apart. It is a calamity, lishbor. And that is another read of the Midrash. The Midrash notes that indeed he saw the shever, and here are the shevers, the shvarim. Famine is a shever. Yosef was brought down to Egypt is a shever. That the Jews would, as the events will now begin to devolve as they in the next few parshiot until you get to Sefer Shemot, that the Jews will be forced to serve the Egyptians, and they'll be afflicted there. All of this is the shever, the brokenness, the disaster that Yaakov somehow in his mind's eye reads in Mitzrayim. Is that all we're supposed to understand? And here you have a verse in Tehillim which serves as a third hinge, the triple entendre of the word shever. Let me read you the verse now. Ashrei she'el Yaakov ve'ezro. Lucky is the person who has the God of Jacob there to assist him, to save him. Sivro al Adonai Elohav. Sivro al Hashem Elokav. His hope is in God, the Lord his God. Sivro is spelt Sin Beit Reish, not Shin Beit Reish, but that's not a big problem for the Midrash, because the whole verse describing the God of Jacob who comes to assist and to his aid is very much directing you towards thinking about the story of Jacob, and it wants you to think of the word shever, but just read it a little differently. In which case, instead of reading that Jacob saw that there was shever in Mitzrayim, read it as if there were sever in Mitzrayim, that there is hope in Egypt. And the Midrash actually contends that it was this point in time that God gives him a blurry, fuzzy, semi-not prophetic vision that there is yet hope in Egypt, that Yosef is yet alive. Yosef is the sever. And the Midrash goes further in the following way. And actually sets it up this way, with shever opposed to sever. That there was shever in Mitzrayim is famine. That there is sever, hope in Mitzrayim, plenty. That there is shever, disaster in Mitzrayim, Yosef was brought down to Egypt. That there was sever, there was hope in Egypt, Yosef was the governor, the shalit. That there was shever, disaster, that we will indeed be enslaved to the Egyptians. That there is sever, v'acharei chen yitzu b'chush gadol, that afterwards we will come out with great substance. Look at the power of this midrash. It takes our verses, which are primarily about Yaakov recognizes we got to go down to Egypt to buy grain, kids, get down there and get moving. And it says a second and a third level of understanding and appreciation on the part of Yaakov. And this midrash, this last one that I read to you, has Yaakov comprehending that everything is all mixed together. And on the one hand, he recognizes all the worry and troubles that await, that are presently the case, and that await them, the shever of it all. And at the very same time, that he lives with the recognition of sever, of hope. Each of those things that have disaster connected to them have elements of hope that will emerge from them. But what we're presented here is this possibility that in the very same moment in time, one can recognize all that is calamitous, that's transpiring, that and it will transpire, and yet maintain an appreciation and an energy that's lifted by a hope in the very same regard. And this is our moment, ladies and gentlemen. We're living with a lot of shever, There's a lot of brokenness. People who are ill and dying from COVID. People who are struggling to get by, out of work, with their lives shut down in those ways. A lot that is broken. And yet there is sever. We have one level of sever in that we're hoping that finally Congress is going to pass some additional bill that will help provide some immediate relief financially, although it's not good enough. Restaurants are shut down, but they were actually closed down outdoors yesterday because they had taken them down because of the storm, but they're already back up and opening in Manhattan. So the little inkling and a little glimmer of hope. There is, of course, the core nightmare of a pandemic, and yet there is the hope that is built into the light at the end of the tunnel of a vaccine that has already begun to be disseminated and given at first to the most vulnerable and those who are on the front lines in fighting it. And then eventually, in months ahead, to the rest of the population. We should all be so lucky that the production will be there, and the vaccine will continue to be proved to be safe, and so it is. In the moments of shever, there is still sever, and it is incumbent upon us to be like Yaakov, because it's so easy to either be caught up simply in the question about, okay, I got to get my rations and hunker down, or to be overwhelmed by the pressing reality of the disastrous things that have happened in the past 9 months. But we, as children of Yaakov, have to also hold on to and grow with and expand our lives with the sever, with the hope. God should give us more reasons for hope. And we should be the ones helping provide hope to others, as we're there helping and assisting those who could use our help, providing an uplifting spirit to one another within a congregation and far beyond our reach. There is much to be anxious about, but yet there is much that we have to be hopeful for. May God give us much sever. Ashrei, praiseworthy is a person for whom God, the God of Jacob, is there to assist. Sivro al Hashem Elokav. Your hope is in God. May we indeed be blessed with that hope. Shabbat Shalom.